Hey, how's it going? So, Coffee Talk, it's a cozy indie game that I'm intrigued on. So, I played it and I want to share my thoughts on it. But first, I originally wrote this before the creator of the game passing away. My condolences to his friends, family, and fellow colleagues. Before his death, he created something, an experience that is absolutely beautiful. Not just that, I also wrote this before the announcement of episode 2 Hibiscus and Butterflies, which looks exciting and I'm actually really excited for it. But I want to review this game. I want to talk about it. Why not? I play video games, so let's share my thoughts on the matter. So let's get started.
So, this game takes place in the magical fictional world of Seattle, where various species of creatures all exist together. While the game does have lore and history behind these creatures, the focus is more on the characters you will eventually meet. The main focus of the game will be on this coffee shop called Coffee Talk. I see what you did there. Once you get the setting of this world, you start at your cafe. See, this cafe is yours, and you are the barista who will serve the drinks and interact with the characters you meet alongside the story.
I'm gonna stop right here because I want to explain that this story is very influential to the game. These developers created a world and story that is absolutely a beautiful experience. So to best enjoy this game, I really implore you to go in blind. You'll thank me for it later for the conversations that you're gonna be reading. But for the developer's sake, I best implore you to go in blind. However, because of that, I think I'm just still gonna give a simple synopsis of the story, so that way you have the best chance to go in as blind as possible.
You are going to meet 11 characters in total, excluding your character. As the game goes on, you meet everyone and hear the stories they have to tell. Later on, you essentially start playing detective, or in essence, are giving them free therapy. These characters share to you, the player, information about their lives, even if you don't ask. But as you meet them, you see their stories are filled with struggles. You start off by meeting Freya, one of the human characters in the game. She'll be one of the main characters you will interact with. You also have Georgie, a police officer. He's just there to help out other characters mainly. You have Lua and Bailey's, a couple dealing with family issues that are hurting their relationship. Because of that, they talk to other patrons in the game who push them to see the situation more broad, to stop seeing it so one-sided, to think about the other person's perspective. You then have Hyde and Gayla. These two main story arcs are just the idea of friendship and life. Gayla also has a side story of finding a special drink to not become a feral werewolf. Aqua and Myrtle are also two characters, one's a mermaid, one's an orc, and their main thing is discussing the idea of friendship. But they also tackled questions of self-confidence and having enough time for yourself in your life. The idea that they tackle is honestly beautiful. You then have two Neko Mimis, Hendry and Rachel, a father and daughter. Rachel is a pop star who wants to become an independent singer, which is her main goal, and this is one of the reasons why they bicker and argue. You know, as parents and their kids often do, but by the end, they learn to respect each other and are able to stay close as a family. Lastly, you have Neil, an alien from another planet trying to get coochie. That is all the characters you will meet and the general gist of their stories. And while I have painted it out super simple, it is the deep conversations the characters have that really are the best part of the game, which is why I don't want to spoil those moments. But just to show a little taste of what that is like, let's talk a little more about Rachel and Hendry and Lua and Bailey's. Rachel wants to branch out in her singing career. She wants to do so with her manager, but her father knows that her manager is a dickhead. Since her father was a former industry manager, he tells her, "You have no idea of the horrors that they will push on you." And that's part of the reason why he's so worried for her. But another thing to add on to his worry, and what tugs on your heartstrings more, is Rachel's mom, Hendry's wife. She's dead. Fuck, man, this shit hurts because both explain that they were never like this, that her mom, his wife, was the link to get these two to agree and understand each other. That hurts, because not only are they adjusting to Rachel becoming a mature adult, a woman ready to set foot into the world, but they lost the person who aided them to be close, and someone that truly understood both of them. She was there for both, and loved both. They lost that special person in their lives. It hurts when you think about it, and this is how the game develops the characters. We see it with everyone. Lua and Baileys don't just get mad and argue because of the plot. There is actual reasoning behind it. They both come from different family backgrounds, so while Baileys wants to leave his family because they are so judgmental and critical and toxic, Lua would never do that because her family is actually cool and supportive. So you see why they start misunderstanding each other and why it takes Gala and Hyde to get them to understand where the other person is coming from. And while you may think that a couple should know this form of communication by now, you have to remember love is complicated, and the game lets you know that with the writing. This type of story writing is present throughout the entire game, which is why I feel the story is so good. It isn't just that it happens for suspense. Every discussion and story point all adds up and makes sense, and every character has logic and reasoning behind their statements. Nothing is really painted black and white. Everyone has their thoughts and discusses it as adults. All the conversations have deep emotional discussions, and it all culminates into a beautiful epilogue. Freya debuted her book, and it was a success. Lua and Baileys are now moving in and staying together as a couple. Aqua ended up debuting her game, and Myrtle now hangs out with her as friends, and also took Aqua's advice to have some time to relax and enjoy life. Hyde and Gala enforced the ideas of friendship, and Rachel is now pursuing her dream with her father helping her to achieve that dream. It's all beautiful to see how exactly they got there, and it makes the ending feel so fulfilling. But the story isn't perfect. Remember Neil? Well, after the credits roll, he comes back looking all hot. I'm not gonna deny that. But then talks to you and starts to be suspicious of you. So the game tells you to go back to certain days of the game. When you go back, your character seems to have knowledge of events that haven't happened yet. Makes you wonder what is going on. So when you go back to Neil after the credits, the twist of the game is revealed. You are a time traveler and the child of Neil. Which, in my opinion, kinda ruins the story a little. Because throughout the game, your character has been portrayed as a mysterious man who has seen some shit. But nope, he's from the future, and all that sagely advice you gave wasn't from experience of a broken man, but of someone who already knew what was meant to happen. As the game implies, you are just there to help your dad get late. What the fuck? Oh, okay. It lessens the overall story, because this isn't a game where you had a choice to give them advice. Other games do this a little better, like Persona 4. There you have choices, make the wrong choice and the character won't be so happy with you, but here it doesn't matter. You have no choice. All the dialogue is pretty much scripted, but I think it's not that bad. It's a minor complaint of the overall story, but it is the conversation these characters have that are beautiful. These characters are not all human, but it is the way they sit down with one another, drinking some coffee, enjoying each other's company, sharing their thoughts and emotions. That is what makes them feel so human, because these struggles and pain they share is real. Those moments were beautiful. It is an atmospheric feeling that makes you feel like you are sharing a cup with some friends, discussing your days. That atmosphere that the developers created is amazing. You are sitting down in your cafe. It's cozy. You see the rain coming down outside, see some pedestrians walk by as they go along their day, and you chill with your customers. It's a comfy feeling. And what adds on to that is the music. You guys like lo-fi? Because that is what you will listen to. It is so good and adds to that comfy feeling. It's so comfortable. It is nice. And all of these feelings are what you will feel that makes it a beautiful experience.
So all these things make the game sound amazing, but what about the gameplay? Because I mean, by the end of the day, this is a game after all. So what is that like?
Now to the most problematic part of the game for me. It's way too simple. That clip shows you all the gameplay you will most likely do in this game. That's it. Pick a base, secondary, and tertiary ingredient and you're done. Nope, nothing. That's it. Even when characters ask you for a cup, you just make it. That's it. But there's also a problem with that. The characters are sometimes very vague with their request. With Gala, it makes sense. He doesn't know the drink. It's part of the story. But what the fuck is everyone else's excuse for? But it doesn't even matter from the looks of it. The game doesn't punish you for it. So whatever. Give them whatever you want. And the story will still continue regardless. I thought that was where the social media app comes into play. Oh yeah! That's a feature in the game they mention once and never bring up again. When you meet Georgie, he says, "Hey, no milk, I am lactose intolerant." And the game makes it a big deal saying, hey, it's on his social media page. And you look and it is there, but that never happens again with any character. Which would have been so cool if they had more of that, you know? Playing detectives and some characters come on in, all, "Hey barista, you know what I want," as if they own the place. They're like those SoundCloud rappers who in their first song say, "You already know who it is," on their first fucking song. Like, no I don't. You didn't introduce yourself. What the hell? It would have been so cool to go on their friend account and have them say, "Love me some hot chocolate," or "I need a green tea ASAP." Even be subtle about it, like, "Man, gingers are so cute." Or even,
"Cream? No, thank you. I take it black. Like my man."
Okay, that one is way too much. But the Tomado Cho page just exists for more art, which it is gorgeous to look at, but what about the game? Having that detective aspect would have helped because it's something to do. It could have fixed that problem. In the story, it's bad at points with the vagueness, but worse is in the challenge mode. So this game actually has two other modes. You got free play mode and the challenge mode. Free mode is just you make whatever you want. That's pretty much it. Its main purpose is just to find all the recipes. But the endless mode is different. It actually forces you to have a challenge, but the challenge sucks. Basically, all the characters come in and ask you for a drink, and you only have a certain amount of time to do it. If you give them what they want, you get more time and keep going until your time is up. It seems like a pretty good extra mode to keep you playing, but it adds an artificial difficulty to the game that was never really utilized before. Remember, the game in the story never forced you to be accurate with the drinks at all, but the endless mode forces you to be exact. After a certain point in the challenge mode, they begin to be super vague or even start asking about heat, cold, sweetness, and bitter, which was never really that big of a deal in the main story. Oh yeah, I never mentioned that. You have a bar that tells you if something is bitter or sweet. It's never really used in the story. Anyways, the challenge mode forces it to be exact, which adds an artificial difficulty in a game where I just push 3 buttons. I can have more fun making an actual cup of coffee.
So I really don't know how to make coffee, so I think this is how you do it. You just grab some grounds and then just make a little line and then just
Well, my nose hurts, but back to the challenge mode. And this shit is fucking hard, and they ask you for such bullshit. At one point, they asked me for a drink that's extra hot and extra cold, and I could not find that drink, forcing me to get the order wrong. Not just that, but even in the guide, they say to pause the game while you look for the order. And it makes sense why they tell you that, since the game never explained what this mechanic was. It never explained what extra sweet or less cold was. You are left to guess, and my first time trying it without a guide, I was so lost. I thought I got close, only for the game to tell me I was way off. That isn't fun, it's annoying. You have game mechanics that you include in your game, but don't explain at all. Not even the story explains this mechanic well, since you literally give them whatever drink you want. So where's the penalty? But okay, what about other aspects of the game? Well, there's latte art, but it's not important either. Only really asked for once, and that's it. You can try to make cool designs, but you don't get anything out of it, so why bother? While the story was good, I think this is Coffee Talk's biggest flaw, because in a game, what's most important is the gameplay, and while they did try to implement a harder mechanic in the endless mode, I think it just made it worse, because it's not certain what you need to do. It just made it so if you try to go get that achievement for completing 50 drinks, take longer, because you aren't getting the correct drinks without a guide. It sucks, because they clearly put love and effort into the world this game has to offer. They include the extra art in the Tomado Cho page, the extra graphic novels that show extra story points, the music, or even the newspaper that helps build more lore to the world they created. But this gameplay is too simple. You just pick 3 ingredients and that's it. I think what could have helped with this was actually grab the mechanics from the challenge mode and implement them into the story. Have silhouettes of all the species in the game. You can't see their features because the cafe is so busy, so you're not focusing on it. But after the shift ends, you have the regulars come in for their story. If they did that, maybe they could have implemented tips. With the tips, we could have gotten a bit more incentive to play the game. You know, maybe buy the extra novels, buy the newspapers, buy the music, or even buy the next parts of the story. Something. Have it mean something when I'm making these cups of coffee. Because if we talk about replay value, there is almost none. Like a book, if you go through the story again, you will notice things that you didn't notice before. But if stories aren't your main thing, then it's hard to recommend. However, that's the thing with this game. It made me appreciate the world building and story overall. But it's that gameplay that made me struggle to figure out if it was a good game. What it did do for me was open my eyes to an experience, something video games can excel in. And while other video games can provide both a fun experience, gameplay, and story-wise, this game still did open my eyes to just having a cozy, comfy experience. That is why I think, while there are still better choices, this was an amazing experience to go through and one I would recommend. But if that is not quite for you, then skip it. This game is a super simple game, but that first experience is what excels.
That's my thoughts on Coffee Talk. I think the game is a beautiful, beautiful experience, and I really would implore people to go experience it because it was cozy, and especially around the time this game came out, it really, really was a nice experience to interact with. But it's that gameplay that I think could have had a test run or something a little bit better than just 3 buttons. But that wraps it up. It's a beautiful graphic novel game, but I'm wondering, maybe there's a better graphic novel game that maybe can solve the gameplay issues. I'm not really sure. But with that said, you guys have a good one and take care.